the VLookup formula is very, very useful. It allows us to look up values in the first column of a table and pick up corresponding values in other columns. So for example, in this table here, it would allow us to pick up a mark between 0 and 39 and give a grade D, between 40 and 59 and give a grade C, between 60 and 79 and give a grade B, and from 8C and above a grade A. The lookup table can also pick up exact values, and so from this table the formula could pick up the comment fail for D, pass for C, merit for B and distinction for A. So let's see how it works. Over here we have a mark, and I want the formula, the VLookup formula in here, to pick up from this mark here the corresponding grade, and then the VLookup formula here to pick up from the grade the corresponding comment. So we search for the formula, and there are lots of lookup formulas, but the one we're going to use is VLookup. And as ever, we get a dialog box here that will help us to enter the corresponding values. In the first box we enter the value we are looking up. In this case it's the number in cell A3. In this column we have to tell the formula which table we're going to look up. So in this case it's the table E3 to F6. In this box we have to enter which column we are looking up. Well, we're looking up the grades, and that's column 2, though you can have bigger tables and have 3, 4 or 5 columns. So in this case we're picking up column 2. The final box requires us to tell the formula whether we want an exact value or the nearest value between two values. Now in this case we want the nearest value that corresponds to a mark between 0 and 39. So any mark between 0 and 39 should give us a D. So we can write true. And now as you see, we get, for the mark of 34, we get the grade D. For the mark of 67, we get the grade B. Now here we want to look up the grade B in this table here. Now this is an exact match, so that if it's a D, we get the comment fail, if it's a C, pass, and so on. So once again, we choose the VLookup formula. The value now is the value in B3. The table now is this table, the grades and comments table. The column is still column 2, and this time we want an exact match, so we enter false, and we can see down here that already it's picked up the correct value. So now we can test it. And it works perfectly.
First we select the range K2 to K5 and name it item. Then we select the range K2 to L5 and name it price list. After this, we want to format the price range as currency. Now we will format a range on the worksheet that will hold the prices and the quantities, give it a bit of colour, and the same for the price list. Next we have to create a drop-down list in cells B6 to B11. We select this range, select data, data validation, and then in the drop-down select list. Here we write the name of our list, which is item. And now you can see that as you select each cell, format the line total column as currency, and now put in some data. We choose table and a quantity of 3. Now we need to put in a formula in D6, and this formula will look up the word table in our lookup table. We select the VLookup formula, and in the first row we write the address B6, and in the second row we write the name of our price list. You can see that this has picked up those values. The prices themselves are in the second column, and so we choose column 2. We choose a range lookup of false, which means it will look for an exact match of the word table. We check that the value is 42 as in the table, and now the value in D6 is 42, which is the price of a table. We now can drag that formula down, and we see that in the other cells in that column there is an error, which is because there aren't any items selected in column B. So now we select some items at random, and then put in some random quantities. Now we can see that in column D the VLookup formula has picked up the prices of the items but has not worked out the totals. In order to do this, we must multiply the price by the quantity in C6, C7, etc. So now we see that it has in fact worked out the correct calculation. We can drag that formula down, and we see that all the line totals now are correct.
Now we need to go back to the problem with not having values in the first column giving an error in the third column. So for example, if we remove the rug and the chair and the rug, we get these errors here because the line total, the VLookup formula, is trying to look up values that don't exist. So the way around this is to use an if formula. So if we go back to the top of the column here and we add this formula, if the value in this column here is an empty string, in other words doesn't exist, then we put an empty string in the third column. Otherwise we carry out the lookup operation. So now, for example, if we remove the table we just get a blank entry in this column here. So now if we copy this formula down and remove the quantities, we can start again now, and as we select the values and the quantities, everything works fine, and so on. And now we've got around the little problem there.
Then we add some formatting. And finally a label, total, and a formula to add up all the line totals.